Alright, so in the last video we actually created our lecture model and we actually already made the connection from parent to section to the parent section, and we actually already implemented the child system as well, so that we actually know that the section model has actually children. And in this video, let's see, what are we gonna do now? Tutorial model. Yeah, we have been thinking about this, right? Do we need a tutorial model? Because we can actually also use like the category system. So for now, we're not going to build a tutorial model. Maybe later that I decide that we're going to do that, but I don't think at the moment. As you can see, this is actually exactly how development goes, right? Sometimes you see something, you think like, no, I don't need it, so we're not going to build it. The same with the podcast model. I don't think we need a podcast. I don't think we need a podcast model, to be honest. And the ebook model we're going to build later. So let me check one more time. Yeah, so this actually means that we have at the moment all the models that we need, because maybe later in the video, later in the series or later in development, we're actually going to build a tutorial model. I don't know yet. So after that, now we actually have all the models finished. What we're going to do now, we're actually going to start with something that is called migrations. So a migration is actually the creation of the model into the database by initial startup. So this means, so the first time when the API is running, we're actually creating all the tables inside the database. In this case, we're going to use Postgres. And the coolest thing about Postgres, or maybe when you compare it to SQL or to MySQL, or MariaDB these days, Postgres is actually made for heavy duty read and write. And this actually means that when you have to work with like a big data sets, right? Postgres is actually better at handling those. So that's why we're going to use Postgres, because if I and my buddies, we get Devscorch back to its former glory, we can have 5,000 requests a second or a minute when we have like 5,000 people online. So that is why we're actually going to use Postgres, because then we are sure we don't need to be worried about database leakage. We don't have to worry about database bottlenecks and so on and so on. Okay, so we go to migrations, and in here we're going to create a new file, and we're going to call this one the user migration. And in here we're going to do import Fluent, yes, and we're going to import Vapor, just in case. I'm not sure if we need it, but who knows. Okay, so when we work with this, we're actually going to create a struct, and the struct is going to be called user migration. And this is going to be a migration, so we're actually going to give this a migration type. And in here, we actually need two different functions. That is the prepare, and I think it was called delete. No, it was not delete. I think it's invert. No, it's not invert as well. Let me check really quick, because we already have here one. It's revert. Yes, sorry. So what we're gonna do, revert. Okay, so these are actually the two functions a user or the migration needs to function. So as stated, let's check the create to do here. Okay, so func prepare, async throws. So the coolest thing about Vapor 4 these days, it actually supports async. So this means asynchronous programming. What this actually means is that you can do more stuff at the same time. And before this, we actually used event loop features. That's something that I'm really used to. to use event loops and stuff like that. But in this series, we're actually going to try to code asynchronously. We're going to try it. So, okay, async throws. So let's see where the user migration is. That's over here. So as you can see here, it actually used the event loop future void. We're actually going to change this. So we're going to change this to async. Oh, wait. No. What was it again? Let's check create to do really quick. Throws, yes. Async throws. And in here, let's see what this says. We're going to do try await. So try await. Then let's check create to do one more time because it's database.schema. So what we can do, database.schema. And if you remember, we actually have been creating schemas in here, right? So when we open the user model, we actually have this schema here. So what we actually can do, instead of writing it ourselves again, we can actually call user model dot schema. And the coolest thing about this is, now we call here the user model dot schema, while the user model calls the schema from the database schemas, and the database schemas are stored here. What we could also do in this case, if we wanted to, we can actually also call, when we let's do it like this, database schemas dot users dot raw value. This is also a possibility, but because I want to make sure that we know that the user migration is actually using the user model dot schema, we don't need to call this one, then we actually call it from the model itself. Okay, so under there we're gonna do dot id. After that we're gonna do let's check really quick if it's the same. Okay, so here we actually create the fields. And this is something that you're also going to see. This is actually really funny. So when we do field, if you remember, we actually created those field keys, right? So when we do user model dot field keys dot name, comma, dot string. What this means, we actually created a database field of the user model field keys dot name dot string. And the coolest thing here is, so for example, you are building like you're gonna reset your database and you want to change something. Now you only have to change it in one place. So that is when we go to the field keys, you only have to go to this file. We're gonna check the user model and you can actually change the keys here. Sometimes some developers, they actually, let's say you have like the field key name, right? And they want to make that the name with the capital N, for example. They have to change it here. They have to change it here. And they have to change it inside the model. And that is actually that's actually why we create the field keys in a separate file, so that we don't need to change it like 3 or 4 times if we want to change it. So the name was not required, that was an optional. So we're also going to do field user model dot field keys dot last name, comma, dot string. And as you can see here, we all the time we actually write like user model dot field keys dot name, blah blah blah. What we could also do above here, we could actually declare the user models dot field key. So what we actually could do, var keys is equal to user model dot field keys. And what we can actually do now when we delete this, we can actually do keys dot name, if I'm not mistaken. No, wait a second. Var keys is I think it has to be equal to user model dot key dot yes. So it has to be equal to. So now we can actually call name string. So now we don't need to type out the username of user model dot field keys dot last name. We only need keys dot last name. This actually makes it a little bit easier for us to code. So field keys dot let's see, we have email, comma, dot string, comma, dot required. So when we put it on required, the database actually knows that the field is not optional. So we know that when we want to register a user, they need to put in an email. After that, I'm gonna do dot field keys dot password, comma dot string, comma dot is required. So field keys dot, let's do publish date. Publish date. Why do we have a publish date on? No, we don't need publish date. We need created at, comma dot string, comma dot is not required. Or shall we require it? You know what? We do required, so that we are sure that when we create this, that we actually are sure that we don't need to worry about that we don't have that is not displayed. So the created that is actually a date. That we're gonna take datetime. It's actually easier to work with. Datetime. And updated that is not required. So after that, field, dot field, keys, dot. Then we have password, we have last name, we have name, address, comma dot string, comma is not required, so we're not going to do that. Dot field, as stated before, when you are working on a website or when you're building a website, just make sure that you don't add in extra information which you don't really need, right? Because it's for you as a user, it's more work, of as a developer. And second, for the user, when it happens that you get hacked someday, and believe me, it will happen. People believe always when they create something that the chance of being hacked is 0. Believe me, it's not. So when you get hacked, all the user information gets leaked, and in this way, when you don't store information you don't need, it's like easy for the user. So that's why, as a developer, I actually don't. I'm not happy if you do stuff like that. So okay, so date of birth is also gonna be datetime dot field keys. Okay, then we have updated that, we have email, we have subscribed at. There's also gonna be datetime dot field keys dot user role, comma. This is gonna be a string because we actually save the role of the user. And the best way to do that is actually just as a string, because then we can actually check the string value. And yeah, okay, so let's check one more time. So we're gonna keys dot user role, subscribe that date. Yes, we have as well. Yes. Username we have. Okay, so now let me check this really quick. Let's see if this is the create to do, because I'm not sure. No, it's not. Okay. So what we actually, first we're going to change the migration here to async migration, just so that works. Let me check let me check the documentation really quick, because we actually want I actually want the email to be how do you call it? Oh wait, I think we forgot the username, huh? Wait, let's see if we have username dot username, comma dot string, comma dot required. So what we want to do now, I actually want the email address and the username to be unique. So I think it's gonna be something like unique. On field key, this is gonna be keys dot username. Let me check. Wait, let me check this really quick, because I'm not sure now. Okay, so we actually don't need the name. I just found it in the documentation, so we can actually delete that. And another one, I want to be unique. This is going to be keys.email, and name we don't need. And the reason why I want them to be unique is this makes sure that people are not creating multiple accounts on a username or on the same username or an email. So this means that when your name is Snowflake, like mine, and you're gonna do like Snowflake, it's not gonna work. But when you do Snowflake1, it's gonna work. But everybody knows I'm Snowflake, so we don't have to worry about that. Same with email. This way, it makes it for logging in really easy, and otherwise you get some great crashes and everything, so we're not gonna do that. So let me check really quick. So after that, we're gonna do create. Wait a second, I saw a second one there. So we're gonna take this one. So create async throws void. Okay, perfect. So now when we run this, we actually have a user model that is being created inside the database. In here, let's see how the create to do did this. Try await database.schema to do's. Okay. So after that, try await database dot schema, and the schema is going to be user model dot schema. What we can also do actually above keys in here, we can actually do var schema is equal to user model dot schema, and this way we don't need to use user model dot schema. We can actually just write schema. Then we don't need to worry about that. Or you know what? Let's call it db schema, so that actually everybody knows what it is when they look at it. This is actually a way of programming that I really like. I had like a lot of people actually telling me that this is not how they like to code, but I find it I find it easier. So for you as well, if you guys code like this, don't worry about it. It's not bad. Okay, so we actually finished our first migration. And the second one is going to be the course migration. So we're also going to create that one, new file, Swift file, and we're going to do course migration. Okay, in here, import Fluent, import Vapor, and under there, struct course migration. I'm not gonna explain in these videos what async is and async await. I'm gonna create if I didn't create a video on it yet, I'm gonna create a video on async in Swift. It's actually really powerful. The coolest thing about async is actually that you can do multiple things at once instead of waiting. So it's actually pretty amazing. So mark, this is gonna be variables. So var db schema is equal to course model dot schema, and then we have var keys is equal to course model dot field keys. That's this one, and under there we're actually gonna do prepare. Wait a second, I saw we have a different one there. As you can see, we actually already have the async throws. That's perfect. And under there, we're actually gonna do the revert as well. And I don't think I explained this yet, but I think I explained prepare. That's actually that we create the database models, and with revert we can actually we can actually delete the changes we make, because when you have like a database and working with data is actually really dangerous, because when you do something wrong, you can corrupt the whole database. So that's why we have revert, because when you corrupt it with revert, you can actually get rid of the changes you made. So don't forget that, it's actually really important. So try await, and then it was database dot schema, and this is going to be db schema under there dot id dot field. This is going to be keys dot title comma dot string. I think we talked about this, that I actually want the users to be like that they can create empty courses. So we're gonna keep this as it is. Field keys dot. Let's update it at. This is gonna be daytime. Then we have dot field keys dot created at. This is gonna be dot daytime, and the daytime is actually gonna be required. Oh, we need a dot required there. Sorry, dot required. Oh, maybe one more thing. If you want to code a little bit safer, you can actually make these variables private variables. When you make it private, you actually make sure that only this file can actually access these variables. But for what we are doing, we don't really need that. It's just a little tip. So we can do field keys dot publish date. Oh, publish date first. This is gonna be dot datetime as well, and we're not gonna require that. Field keys dot content state. The content state is also gonna be a string. Dot string. Then we have dot field keys dot. Let's see. Header image. Comma. This is gonna be dot URL. I think. Let's see really quick. I'm not sure if we even have like URL here. No, we don't. So let's make this a string, I think. Let's check this really quick. No, okay, you know what, let's do string. Because URL and string is actually almost the same, but it's not the same, if you know what I mean. So keys dot, we have that one as well, title, category. I don't think we need to store category. Yeah, we do actually, we have to string. This is gonna be a UUID. We don't need to do anything inside the category here, so we can actually delete this. So then we have dot field keys dot, let's see. So we don't need category, content role. It's gonna be a dot string. And the content role is actually gonna be required. Or aren't we? Yeah, that's required just in case, and maybe later we can actually change this again. So after that, for content role we have title, we have as well. The article. The article, this is actually gonna be a string as well. Yeah, let's see, maybe we can make it data, huh? Let's see what is data. I think this has to be string, but it is possible we're gonna change this later in the series as well. So dot field keys dot article we have dot instructor. The instructor is gonna be dot string dot field keys dot let's see, we have short description. Short description is also going to be a string. I know you guys probably think, oh my god, this is so boring, he's only using strings. And then we have the assets URL. Assets URL is going to be string as well. And dot field keys dot syllabus is going to be a string. And last but not least, oh, make sure you don't need a space there, because otherwise this is going to break. Keys dot. Is there another one we need? I think we need one more. Description we already have, right? No, we don't. Okay. It's also going to be a string. And under there, I actually want to see if we have something that we want to make unique. Let's see. Header image, content role, article, instructor. No, we don't need to make anything unique because it's all the same anyway. Under there, we're actually going to do dot create. Oh, dot create, and we're actually going to take the async throws void. And in here, try await database dot schema. And this is going to be db schema dot delete. And we actually need the delete async to avoid. Okay, so now we actually created 2 migrations. Pretty cool. So in the next video, we're actually going to create the next of the migrations. I'm going to do some more research. It is possible that we have to change article here to data, but I'm not sure about it yet, because how do you say it, like saving complete articles inside the database is not easy. I tried it a few times and most of the time I done it wrong, but we're gonna look at that later and we will see what happens. But for now, we actually did a lot. I hope you guys understand a little bit what migrations do now, how we built them in Vapor, and yeah, and that you understand why we use async throws instead of the event loop features. And yeah, it's gonna be really cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I see you in the next video.